Preparing live stream. Now this trade will be for personal accounts only. Don't forget.
Oh no! Can you give me the screen? If I request the screen, I don't know if you can.
Yep. Should be coming your way.
Share.
Okie dokie. I think we are now live and free to air, and we're learning to trade the FTSE right now. We go straight to London, where Ash is ready to fire in an order. What do you got, mate?
So I want to go long. I don't know whether you've got my. In fact, you haven't got my screen. Not sure. I'm going to share my screen.
Waiting for Ash control your screen.
Yeah, we got a little while, but we want to kind of get on top of this if we can.
Yes, I'd love to get on top of it. So, remote controlled.
Oh, I actually meant the trade. Oh, yeah, not this thing. Not this thing. I haven't got a clue about this thing, mate.
I have. If I stop sharing, hang on, this little arrow here, dock to bottom. Okay, that's not working. Waiting for Ash to control your screen. So have you not gone new share?
Let me see. Show meeting controls. Give up. I've asked for remote control. Give up remote control. Now, if I go share, you cannot start sharing screen while the other participant is sharing. So while you're sharing, I can't share. If you go view
sharing, I leave the meeting. So
yeah, what if you go view options? You know, view options.
View options, as in more.
And you've got that remote control there.
If not, remote control, yes. Auto accept all requests. Ash. I'll put Ash. And then it goes waiting for Ash to control your screen, which is what I had before.
Oh, okay.
Ash is controlling my screen. I'll just leave again, mate, and come back in.
Okay. All right, we'll try that.
All right.
We'll try that. Okay.
I'll see you in a tick.
All right, buddy. All right, see you shortly. Let me see if I can get. Right. Right, you guys should have my screen now. So what I am looking for is a FTSE 100 long, and I want the FTSE 100 long. Make sure that's absolutely right. But I want to go. I want probably a better signal than this. And you know, it's one of those that with these situations we may end up missing the trade. But I don't want to go long here until I see a half decent signal, and I'll show you why. And it's because when I look at the hourly chart, now it's a fairly extreme angle, but I do have a trend line here, down there, and price action is below this trend line. I don't really want to see that. I want to make sure that the price action can actually kind of come above the trend line. So the 5-minute chart is going to help. And I don't mind this bar, but I don't love it. You know, it's starting to look a little bit under stress here. We'll talk about reasons why if we get the trade on. We'll talk about the reasons why I'm looking at the long, but I don't think that the picture is particularly good yet. I mean, that's first thing in the morning. It's usually a difficult situation, and realistically, if it pops down here, the likelihood is it's going to go, and I'm not going to get the bar I need. But this bar closing in this position down here is just too bearish. So I'm going to stick out of this one. Now, I do have a long bias on the FTSE, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why in a second. Because I am aware that actually a long... What's that, mate?
So they don't seem to be interested in that direction at the moment, do they?
No, which is interesting, isn't it? And you know, and I'll tell you why I've got a long bias in a moment if this shapes up. But the reason that that my bias is, I'm happy to change it, I suppose. Technically speaking, I do have a long. You know, technically speaking, sorry, I have a short. Technically speaking, this should be a short trade, and it may well be that that the short trade is much more attractive, and we should really be looking at shorts. But I'm struggling to justify the shorts, and I'll show you why the shorts, technically speaking, looks like the direction. Because when we flip this to the daily has obviously sort of started to create this lower high here. So we got this low, we got this lower high. It looks like it's continuing down. We also have a 4-hour chart, which is it's created a lower low. This could be a lower high here. So we got, you know, everything technical says take the short on. Now this hourly switches things up a little bit. Now it depends on what we consider this area to be. You know, if we consider that we've got a higher low, sorry, a higher high, then we might get this higher low here. So this technical picture needs to unfold a little further. Anybody going short here, totally get it. You got the technical reason to go short. The indicators actually look like a short as well. Probably just waiting for a shorter term chart to go short. The 15-minute chart is looking pretty bearish too. So there's every reason to go short. Anybody going short here, I totally get it. And unless I get clarity that suggests I should go long, I'm going to stay out the way. And the reason I'm going to stay out the way is over the weekend, we had the Oliver Letwin bill go through Parliament. And the Oliver Letwin bill is that the Parliament is forcing Boris Johnson to write to the EU to ask for an extension. Now, if anybody's not up on this, Oliver Letwin will still vote for Boris Johnson's deal. But what he's basically saying is, you are, I don't trust you. We don't trust that you're going to do it. You've been weaseling out of this for far too long, and you are so hard Brexit centric that we are going to force you to go ahead with the Hillary Benn Act, which states that he had to send a letter to the EU asking for an extension. Since then, Boris Johnson did send a letter that asked for an extension, but he didn't sign it. And he sent another letter that said to the EU that I think is a bad idea for an extension, and he did sign it. So that to me says indecision, uncertainty, difficult phase to be in. So when I now bring my pound into focus, then I would be anticipating weaker pound price action. And one of the reasons is that the pound has extended to quite an extreme level, and you know, in quite an extreme way. When I look at this chart, where are we at? When I look at this chart here on the daily, that pound's got a long way, very, very fast, and I don't think it's going to take too much to topple it over a little bit. Now, it's quite telling that it hasn't toppled as yet, but that is what I am anticipating. Now, I don't now see why the pound continues to strengthen. Now, if the pound doesn't strengthen, then the FTSE 100 would suggest to me that should go in the opposite direction, and that should be the thing that strengthens. And that is why I am taking on the long. Now, look at this bar. All of a sudden, it is starting to look a lot more attractive. So let's see where this bar ends up, and let's see if we get an entry. So if this bar ends up looking fairly bullish, I'm going to ignore that the price action on the longer term suggests downside, and I'm going to take the long. So that is where I'm at, mate. And the reason I'm making the decision is that I just don't get it. I don't get why we would be shorting the FTSE and going long the pound. So I'm going to wait for the FTSE 100 to shape up for me, and if it does, then I'm going to take it.
Mate, is Johnson taking the P?
Oh yeah, totally, mate. You know, he's this is the thing about him, is that he is a very divisive character, and actually I like him. You know, I don't agree with many things that he does, but I like him. But he's wily. You know, he's going to get what he wants at pretty much all costs. So yeah, you know, he is taking the P, mate. But people don't trust him. I don't trust him either. And that's the situation here. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go in here. Right, I am long the FTSE. And obviously, you know, stops at the low of the candle. So 5-minute candle. So stops at the lower candle. The entry is 61.68, 61.70 actually, and the stops are going to be down here at 71.50. Let's call it 71.49. Okay. So that is where we're at, mate. And let's talk about targets, because targets aren't going to be too high, in my opinion. The reason I've taken this long on now is that I don't believe we have enough clarity to push the pound any higher. And I think because we're at such a high price, it potentially pushes the pound down until we get clarity. Now, I'm not saying it's going to push down hard. I'm just suggesting that it weakens somewhat. And if that weakens somewhat, that's going to help the FTSE. And I think the FTSE bias then sort of like, just starts to promote a little bit of upside. So I am going to trade to the upside until I either get some more clarity or I'm getting close to a vote, which is going to give me clarity, and then I'm just going to close the trade. So it's probably going to be more of a time of the day trade than a target. But let's talk about potential targets.
Actually, before we do, I suppose we should point out that any Actions to Wealth account holders who are looking to trade today on pound, FTSE, I'm not sure what else is involved in that. Is the euro in there as well?
Yeah, euro being there. Yep.
You can't do it, guys. That they will be closed, those trades.
Yeah, so this is for everybody's personal account, I guess, isn't it?
Only.
Yeah. No problem with that. Okay, so personal accounts will do that. Now let's just do one thing. Oh yeah, so let's have a look at some potential targets. The first target is going to be up here, and maybe that'll be enough for the day. Let's just see what time of day it is, and see what goes on with that. So I'm going to aim probably in this area. I like this low here. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And it's possible that we're only aiming there. Actually, let's just see what that would give us. 20, and we are looking for a 1-for-1 initially. Just a little bit better than a 1-for-1 initially. Looking for around about 22 pips to the upside as a minimum, and it might be higher than that depending on where that the resistance point really lies. Now I'm just going to quickly open up my futures account and see if I can deal with this. I don't really like looking at these charts, but these are, let's get rid of this. I'm just going to do some analysis on my futures accounts as well, because I find this just a little bit more reliable. There's a weekly pivot actually not that far up, which is problematic. There's a weekly pivot and it's only 6 above the entry. That is going to be problematic. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's have a look at the time of the vote, and then that might help us figure out how we're going to manage this trade. Interesting that one thing that they are saying on Bloomberg is that the fact that he's asked for this the extension letter, it might be that there's the chance for the hard Brexit is diminished, and the pound traders will actually quite like that, and I'd agree with that. Okay, so what we got? Nothing. So there's actually no major news today at all, and they're not reporting when that vote is going to take place. Now it's usually around between 1 and 3. So I'm just going to have a look and see if I can find that out. You haven't got anything else there, mate? Have you anything that could fundamentally?
Mate, I can talk about a few things, of course, as always. And
I meant on this subject. Just while we're on it,
I'm completely confused, I've got to say. And
okay.
To me, it looks more like Theresa May in replay.
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, Boris Johnson is playing different cards, isn't he? But he's
different
effectively
reasons.
doing different.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it just looks like here we go again. The Prime Minister gets a deal. Prime Minister gets held down. Prime Minister gets another deal, and he goes back to the Parliament. But is this expected to be a better result for him, though, isn't it? The next one.
Well, he hasn't actually taken his no, he hasn't actually put his deal through Parliament yet. All we've got so far is the MPs voting before the main vote to say that if he doesn't get a deal, so if Parliament end up not vote it
I
down,
misunderstood. Okay.
yeah, he's got to ask for an extension. So this is what we got. So Parliament must be given a straight up and down vote on the Prime Minister's Brexit deal. Number 10 says Boris Johnson was forced by law. This is the way it's been reported, which would be pretty much clearer than I've said it. Boris Johnson was forced by law to send a letter asking the EU for a new delay on Brexit, but did not sign it. The PM now wants MPs to say a clear yes or no to the deal on Monday, adding, "We cannot allow Parliament's letter to lead to Parliament's delay. It will be up to Speaker John Bercow to decide whether to allow the vote," which I think is quite interesting. So that's more uncertainty potentially today because we don't even know whether there is going to be a vote. Mr. Johnson reached a new deal with the EU last week, but it needs approval by the UK Parliament. The deal ditches the backstop. That we don't need to know any of that. The whole of the UK will leave. We don't need to know any of that. We need to know if there's a time for the vote. So why did the PM ask for extension? We don't care. What happens now? Okay, on Monday, the government will make a second attempt to hold a meaningful vote. So it's today, without the Letwin amendments, presenting MPs with a straight choice to approve or oppose the deal in principle. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay, what this says to me, let me just read this first paragraph for you again. On Monday, the government will make a second amendment to hold the meaningful vote without the Letwin amendment, presenting MPs with a straight choice to approve or oppose the deal in principle. That is not going to get through. Number 10 said Letwin's delay amendment turned Saturday into a meaningless vote and denied MPs and the public the chance to end the uncertainty. That's not going to get through. So what Oliver Letwin's done is said, I'm going to vote for your deal, but I'm not going to vote for your deal unless you assure us that if we don't get a deal, you're going to go and ask for an extension. So what he's saying is I'm removing that. So it's just basically binary now. Vote for me or don't vote for me. There's no delay. It's just going to be, we're just going to be in or out by the 31st. So that's not going to go through. So already I'm feeling much better about the potential for the FTSE 100 to strengthen.
When you say in or out, what do you mean in or out?
So the vote will mean we've got a deal and well, it's not in or out. Sorry, mate. That's probably badly put. We've got a deal, or and we leave on the 31st with this deal, which was the in, I suppose, or the out is we leave without a deal completely. So ultimately,
don't tell me this. Okay,
no,
overrule Brexit back in the thing.
No,
again. Jesus.
There was also a request by Peter Kyle, who's actually my MP, to have a vote on a confirmatory referendum on his deal, and because Letwin got his vote through, that became arbitrary. So because we haven't voted on a deal yet, so because we don't know whether the deal is in Parliament, whether Parliament are going through, we don't vote on whether the public should confirm it as well. So that's now been pushed back. So there's a couple of there's still a couple of votes that still need to happen. The big one obviously is Boris Johnson's deal, but that doesn't sound to me like they're playing. He's going to be playing wise, but I don't know why he's done what he's done. I don't know why he's saying we're going to take out the Letwin amendment, because basically the Letwin amendment were still supporters of his deal. But it's just people that are saying, give us some assurances that we're not going to crash out. Because what Letwin is effectively saying is, we don't trust you. We like you, but we don't trust you. So, we aren't going to vote for your deal if it just means we crash out. So, so the fact that he's taken that out suggests to me that Letwin's not going to vote for it, and many other people won't vote for it either. So that is going to be tricky, mate. That is going to be.
It's setting up a tricky trading week, really, isn't it?
Yep, already
on that scenario.
Already, you're absolutely right. Now I'm seeing the pound is. What can I bring that on? The pound is slightly weaker so far in the first hour, not significantly. So that's not really going to help my FTSE trade. You can see my FTSE trade is vaguely in positive territory, but not
Yeah, look,
particularly.
I expected to wake up, and I only read the headlines, and the headlines suggested to me that the deal failed, and the extension had been asked for, and I didn't know the details, which you've now given us.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a massive gap in the market, and I thought, why? But now I
Yes.
know.
Yes. Interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
So let's just check some other barometers as well, just to sort of have a look at the state of play in the rest of the world, which may well, or, always does drive the FTSE as well. This is gold. Gold took off a little bit in the last couple of hours, and it has managed to find something of a looks to me. It's quite hard to find my area. Here we go. This is what we're looking at with gold.
Mate, you've been to the
That's interesting. Breakout on gold.
the chart
Yep.
hairdresser as well. I see.
What changed my colours?
You have, yes, yeah.
Do you know what, mate? That's actually not what's going on. What's going on is that this is a different account. Yeah, so because it's a different account, I haven't. My blank chart on this account is grey, but when I use my own accounts, my other accounts, which we tend to look at, it is a black background. Do you prefer this background?
Mate, I don't give it two tosses, you know. What
Is it easy to see?
It looks more like something I'm used to.
Yeah.
From my own point of view, but who cares?
Can I ask the guys that if this is any better or worse or not significant? Because if it's not significant, I'll continue to use the black charts because I much prefer looking at them. But if it's a problem, then I'll change it back again. But just very quickly anyway, gold is not really showing us a whole bunch of detail, not suggesting bullish or bearish. It's broken out to the upside, but I'm not too concerned with gold right now. S&P very, very quickly. There we go. Gold is actually moving to the downside, which I like. S&P is holding on to gains just about as well. So we got the S&P currently sitting at 29.92 with a daily chart which is hanging on up there. So S&P could collapse a bit today on its own merit, and that's not going to help the FTSE. But for right now, we're going to stick with this trade and see what happens because as I say, I'm kind of looking at a weaker pound for the day. Maybe significant that we've actually opened trading and the pound hasn't tanked yet, but let's hold on anyway and see if we can hit this target. If we hit this target, then this it's all gravy, isn't it? We've got a free trade minimum in the market. Might even take some profit up there, move stops to break even, and then we'll see what goes on from there.
Well, mate, I'm glad you've got something because really I'm totally confused by pound, euro, and don't really know which way to turn in fundamental regard.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the technical side of things, I suppose, and see if I can actually see anything. But again, I must warn people who are trading ATW accounts that you are still unable to trade the pound, the FTSE, the euro. I don't know if there's anything else involved in that, but trade them by all means, but on your own accounts, not on the proper accounts. That's official because they will be closed. Right, so let's start with the pound, shall we? And from what I see, you should be able to see my screen by now. From what I see, the skyrocket is yet to be tamed, and that makes it impossible to trade from my point of view. I can't just say with any form of confidence that this is just going to continue to go to where I see the first target, really. And when I say the first target, this could go a long way depending on what happens. But it could also reverse and go the other way. So guess what? That's not rocket science, and I'm not the first person that's ever said that. I can assure you. But I can't pick this right now. I've just got to rely on retracement from a technical point of view before I could even look to trade it long. Could I trade it short? Yes, I could. Absolutely, I could. But I'm only speaking from a technical viewpoint, and the technical viewpoint for me is I would need to see a substantial reversal pattern here of some kind. Something more than that. That's to me just a reaction to a news event, and really emotive candles like that are very, very confusing. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it'll do for now. So I'm disregarding that pretty much entirely. What I need to see here is a substantial double top or a big bearish engulfing bar or something like that. And then price come down to a support level, bounce off that support, yet not go through the tops. And as soon as I see, in other words, a lower high, and if I see that, then there's a chance that I could trade it back the other way. It's totally against my bias, of course. I'm a bull, but that would be the only way I would look to trade this short. I would love to see price back down here somewhere, because that would give me an opportunity perhaps to trade it from a technical point of view back in the direction I want to trade it, which is long. But with the fundamental situation, you know, everything's going to be dangerous here. In particular this week, I would think, until something's sorted out. But you know, we've had many of these over the past 3 years, and sometimes they just don't do anything. But I've got a funny feeling that we're close to a decision here in terms of what Brexit actually looks like, when it will happen. And if that's the case, we will see movement. I've got no doubt about that once the resolution is actually there. So I'm tending to steer clear of these, even on personal accounts at the moment, for the reason that it's very, very uncertain. And that's the attitude I will take until it does become certain. That said, I won't ignore the charts completely. I'll certainly look at them. And if I do see what I've just described to you, then I'll probably just very, very small stake have an interest. And I'll put it that way. That's about the only way I can put it. The euro, surprisingly to me, I've got to say, but it's very, very clear now that the market is talking and saying we want the euro higher. And the only thing I can say about that is, again, it's against my bias, but my bias is now on the change, because the candle that I was really taking my bias from, which is this one here, has now been obliterated. And I guess the thing I would be looking for now is price to come back to the bottom of this descending channel. And now it's probably getting a little bit long in the tooth, because it has been broken a couple of times and rebroken a couple of times. The retest didn't prove to be the proof that I was looking for, that this would go a lot shorter. And now we're back above that descending channel. As I said, a retest of there would definitely be a bullish sign for me if it didn't come back underneath it. Would I be willing to trade that? Look, same. I think I definitely would be if price came back to retest this area. I think, again, that's a bullish sign that I would be very, very hard to ignore for me. But I think I'd go the safe route and place the order above this bar here. And well, there's a safe way to play it, I suppose. Put your stops way down here. That's probably not what I would do. But this candle's got, it's a weekly candle, right? It's got 5 days or 4.5 days to go, and that'll be the proof for me. If it stops above this bottom of range, then I think that's a bullish sign, not a bearish sign. So that's pretty much the euro. Will I look to trade it? Look, I think there's definitely a case for a downside here. Is there an opportunity for a downside here? Well, if you look at that chart, that being the 4-hourly chart, it's exactly the same scenario as I described on the pound. It's on fire, and I would need to see a substantial turnaround here, or, well, no, I would need to see a substantial turnaround, not just the hint of a turnaround. It would have to be a substantial turnaround now. And again, that would be in the form of a reversal pattern, double top, bearish engulfing bar, anything like that. The traditional signs that this can turn around, and then I would need to see a lower high. And until that happens, I'm no fan of trading the euro at present, and that's very unlike me. I'm very much a euro fan. The Aussie, the disdain that has been displayed towards the greenback lately has also carried through to the Aussie. But I suppose of all the currency pairs, the Aussie was showing signs that it definitely could rally because it was at a very strong support level, not just the immediate support level that you can see here, where the 67.5 level down to 67, I suppose, has been rejected many times in the past 2 months or 3 months now. We're getting out to 3 months now, and finally that gave way to or produced, if you like, a higher low, and that higher low, bang, has been the signal for a very strong rally on the Aussie. Now at a resistance level and getting very close to the 69 handle, and as that happens, you're going to find resistance here, in my humble opinion. Of course, it's not that unclear that there's resistance here if you just look across the chart a little bit. But where it's strongest is probably the question. Is it here? Well, we're through that. Is it here? Well, we're on that. Or is it here? Well, we'll find out, I suppose, whether we get a rebuttal here of the 69 level as we approach that. Where is 69 on this chart? It's probably above that high. It is. Okay, it's right there. So you can see that we have had a little bit of a tussle at 69 in the last, half of the year. Yep. We've been there support. We broke support, but not for long. And we broke resistance, but not for long. Well, guess where we are now? We're exactly back there. If you're a fan of symmetry and, should I say, offbeat chart patterns, then there's probably a case for you to be thinking 69.5, 70.5 as we climb the tree back to what would then be, if I can, what color pen will we use? How about white? What would then be the big W formation. So if you're a fan of that, I can see why you would be willing to trade the Aussie long. I think I'm kind of in that boat. Where to is where to trade it, and how to get into the market is probably the question. I don't see on the daily chart right now an opportunity for me so to do. I'd probably like to see it. I don't know where the level is. That's my problem. I don't really want to see this taken out before a retracement. So I want to see a retracement pretty soon and then get into it and trade the break through that level. I think that's what I would prefer to do, with, this in mind, this in mind, and this in mind. So I think where I've probably been an Aussie bear, I'm willing to give it a good shot at being a move to at least this area here. So around about the 69.5, 70, yeah, somewhere between there, 69, 75, something like that in the first instance. So how do we do that? Let's take a look. It's one thing wanting it to happen and seeing its possibility. It's another thing entirely actually putting it into effect. So let's see if we can actually achieve that. And really at this level, it's tough on a 4-hour chart because every single thing here that you see is bullish, bar 2 candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 bullish bars in a row on the 4-hour chart. 1, 2 dojis and a couple of spinning tops in the bear direction. So I don't see any way to just jump in here and say, all right, I'll ride the wave. That would be folly to me. I need to see a retracement. Where to is the question. And can I trade it to there? Because that's kind of where I'm focused. If I can't go long, can I go short? And, it's the same story as I've just given you on the pound and the euro. Yes, I can, but I need a reason. And that reason isn't evident at this point. 4-hour chart's not going to give it to me for a while. The hourly could. But again, there's no sign there yet. So probably what I'm looking for here is a big bearish engulfing bar or something of that nature. Test the daily pivot, get back here, bounce off the daily pivot, yet fail to take out the high, giving me a lower high, and therefore we could have a little crack at it. But it's exactly the same scenario. We've got a weak greenback according to the euro, the pound, and the Aussie. And that, of course, may change. We are now, a week away, maybe 10 days away from the Fed's latest attempt to control interest rates, or to control the economy, rather, via interest rate changes. When is that announcement? Is it on the 29th or 30th? Not the 29th. Not the 30th. Can't be the 31st. Is it this week? I'm checking. No. When's FOMC, Ash? It's this month, surely. Apparently not. Okay. Guys, I've just got to check on that, so bear with me for a tick.
You all right, mate?
When's the Fed statement?
I thought it was. Hold on a second.
I can't find it anywhere.
I've got Chloe here, mate. Just so you know, we were just listening into you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Chloe.
All right, Jeff. How's it going?
Going okay. Although I'm very, very busy trying to get clear of all my commitments so I can jump on a plane in a couple of days.
That's what I've been doing today, mate. Too. You're not alone. I thought it was the end of this month. So let me just see.
I've lost the plot here. I can't find it at all.
Hold on a second, mate. We got consumer confidence in the 29th. Non-farm. Here we go. FOMC statement is on the 30th of this month.
Whoa. Brexit the day after. So we've got FOMC.
Yeah.
Not a bad week, is it?
No, that's pretty good, right?
Whoa. And then we haven't got... The first is Friday. We won't have NFP on that day, will we? Or will we? Maybe we do. 1st of November is shite. NFP.
Yeah, there's loads, isn't there?
Dolly. What a week. That's a good daily week for you.
Yeah, that's going to be quite a lot to focus on.
Okay, so that's next week. Interesting. Why was I asking that question? Because I think that's the only thing at the moment that's likely to turn the dollar around, unless, of course, we have a famous tweet coming from the Donald, and that's always on the cards. But at this point in time, it's tough to be anything but a.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I mean, there is always a chance that Trump could say something, isn't there?
Yeah, but as I say, it's probably very difficult to be a dollar bear at the moment, a bull at the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
So I'm happy to go along with that.
There's potentially impeachment still hanging over him as well.
That's just another day for Donald.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know, but then all that stuff is it's just conjecture, isn't it? We can't say when it's gonna or if it's gonna happen. So there's just no point in trying to trade it that way.
No, so I guess I'm going to concentrate on the Aussie pairs, mate. I think from what I've just said, the Aussie looks like it might be in a bullish frame of mind, certainly against the CAD. What's oil doing? Has it come off the lows yet? Not quite. A little bit, but not really something you can hang your hat on, I wouldn't have thought. And the reason I look at that, of course, is the CAD is so closely correlated to oil and what oil does. But I think we've got CAD rate statements this week as well. I think. I'm just going to check on that as well. October this week is... No, it must be next week. Okay, so it's not this week. So the CAD, the CAD's probably going to remain a little bit on the weakish side until oil does take off, unless, of course, something else happens in the meantime. So I'm a bull Aussie CAD, but I'm at a bad spot to trade well, I'm not at a bad spot, but I've got to have something go my way. The daily chart has broken this trend line or trade line, and that's okay. That's good, in fact. But I need to see a better candle than I've got on the 4-hour chart. I don't like that at all. I need to see a substantial close above that line, like we had on the hourly chart, and we've had the retest on the hourly chart. It's probably too late for me to actually trade that as an ABC or a bounce retest go. What do I need to see here now? I need to see the 4-hour chart, I suppose, do exactly the same thing. So this candle needs to close kind of on its highs or around about its highs, then come back and test not only the trend line, but the monthly pivot would be pretty cool. And I think that's probably a signal for bulls to go again. I think I'd be happy with that. That said, you can see very clearly that we're getting a sequence that is confusing. In other words, we're getting a higher high here, a higher low here, now a lower high and a lower low, now a higher high. No higher low yet, but that surely will come, one would think. This high is therefore a problem, and trading through that is going to be a very, very difficult proposition. So probably the best course of action for me is for this to fail, actually, and get back down to the bottom of the range, maybe the support trend line, find that, set up a false break off there, then come back in here, retest. I'm talking a long time down the track, I know, and I apologize for that, but this is how I work out exactly what course of action I'm going to take. I've got to imagine what can happen next. And that, to me, if I am to trade this long, is definitely the preferred option, is to get it off support rather than off resistance. So, yeah, don't know. I'll look for a false break here, I suppose, and then get short in order to get long. Let's put it that way. So I want a sell-off before I get long. It would then give me another higher low if we were to attack here and fail again, and I'd be happy with that. That would be good for me. That's Aussie CAD. Now, I put you guys into Aussie Yen last week. I don't know what day that was. I'll tell you what day that was. There was the trade there. So it was Wednesday. Wonder how you guys handled that. I don't know. I got out here, and that wasn't such a great call. But that's not true, because that's exactly how I trade, right? There was resistance here, and I'm always going to do that, trading in a 1 hour or 30-minute chart, which is what we were doing. The entry was obvious. The first take profit was obvious, which was here before the untested, well, not untested daily pivot, but the daily pivot. And the target was obvious when this candle here, and I can't remember what the announcement was, something on the Aussie. Yes, it was unemployment rate, which went from 5.3 to 5.2. That's right, I now recall. So that was the obvious place to exit for me. Did that. Thought I was on pretty good terms with myself when we started retracing potential reversal, but the news was too strong. They love unemployment rates dropping, and the markets responded in kind. And we've probably missed a good bunch of coin there, but again, that's the way I trade on a 30-minute chart. As soon as I hit resistance, I'm out. And believe me, that has rewarded me many, many more times than it has kicked me in the butt. So I'm completely okay with that. What I would love to have seen is a potential entry on a 4-hour chart, which would have allowed me to stay in that trade. Hasn't done that. To get back into it is asking quite a bit at this point. I don't want to do that, having missed all of that rally. I'm not saying it can't, because, as I said before, my analysis tells me that the Aussie can rally more than it has, and there is quite a few higher targets for the Aussie at the moment. So unless we go into a risk-off scenario, then don't get me wrong, that's entirely possible at any time. Then I can't see this one turning around very, very quickly. So Aussie Yen is, I'm still a bull Aussie Yen. I'll do one more because I'm going to just eliminate the pound and the euro at the moment, mate.
Yeah, and I would have thought, you know, if as we've been kind of been made aware recently that the Aussie yen is actually one of the better proxies, isn't it, for the stock market? And if the stock market is buoyant and at least many being able to survive, then the Aussie yen looks to be a fairly decent choice, doesn't it, for a long?
Yeah, quite like it. As I said, it's set up nicely on the 30-minute chart, but not so much on the 4-hourly chart for me, which is a little bit disappointing. But that can change, of course. And I see, as I say, unless the market suddenly goes risk off, then that should continue on its merry way, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Last one's Aussie Kiwi. Now the Kiwi's put on a bit of a spurt, and I suppose you'd have to expect that because it's been falling. If I have a look at the Kiwi and go to the weekly chart, you can see how badly it has been. And I suppose the Aussie's no different to that, to be fair. But the Kiwi's gone a fair way, and you would be expecting it to bounce a little bit, as you would the Aussie. But the Aussie was coming off a stronger base, in fact, than is the Kiwi. I think for that reason, I'm still inclined to favour Aussie over Kiwi. Kiwi hasn't really broken through a strong resistance level that I can see anyway, this being the weekly chart. And it is back. Well, is it back? Maybe it's got a little bit to go. Maybe that's the level there that it's looking for.
Just really quickly, mate. There's no. You don't need to switch me the chart, but just so everybody knows, you should have, or you can if you like. I mean, I'm not going to say you should have. I'm just letting you know that the first target's been hit. So take profit. Well one can be done, and you can move stocks to break even. Feel free to do that. Looks pretty bullish to me though, so probably not too worried if you guys don't want to take profit here and want to leave it on. I think that's okay too. Actually, it looks pretty good, but I'm going to be a bit more conservative here. So TP1's hit and stops at break even, so you should be at least you've now locked in your profit if you get your stops to break even. If you choose not to take profit, then at least move your stops to break even, because it comes back down to entry. I think is probably going through. So, but it looks pretty good from here, mate.
Awesome, mate. Well done. Good start to the week. I'll finish up here right now, but what I've just looked at here is probably the Kiwi's got another 50 pips up its sleeve, I would have thought, before I can start to seriously think this is going to bounce and go short. Well, not even short, retrace on the move, I'll put it that way. Whereas the Aussie looks to be full of running. So I'm just waiting, I think, for Aussie Kiwi to maybe pull back to this area again, similar to what I've just described on Aussie CAD. And if we can do that, if we can get to here, find a little bit of support underneath this broken, what would then be a broken trend line, back above it, retest it, giving us a higher low, way we go. I think that would be the way to go for me on Aussie Kiwi. So just waiting on an opportunity there. Would I tack from here? Look, I hate trading close to the highs, but if we got down to here and failed to hit this level, I think I'd be almost tempted to take the higher low anyway. I think that would be okay. Don't trade into the pivots. They're very, very close together, and that means generally that we're going to have a little bit of sideways action before we actually get out of here. So this is definitely the preferred option for me. Get down to here, then back above, and away we go. So I've just turned myself into an Aussie bull, Ash.
Okay.
Just a little bit of analysis has done that, and I think that's probably where I'll be focusing my attention for the first couple of days of the week anyway.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. Well, I don't think we've got any problems, have we, mate? We've just taken a winning trade. We put some stops at break even. So whatever happens, we're gonna have a winning week, because I don't think we're trading tomorrow. You're traveling, aren't you, tomorrow?
Tomorrow's good. I'm alive tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, I'm out.
Okay, so I think I'm out tomorrow because I've got an event I'm putting on. And then Wednesday I'm out as well. So Thursday you're out. I think that's probably it for the week, unless you want to be in tomorrow on your own, which I don't think anybody would necessarily expect you to do that. So
actually, it would be good if I couldn't, guys. If you'll allow us to have this this 4 days break or 3 days break, that would be wonderful for us. There's plenty to do in preparation for Bali, and if we can do that, that would be great. Of course, we'll be back as soon as we return from Bali.
Yeah, exactly. And also, everybody's got a trade that they can potentially let run here as well. So there's just no need. I think if you're looking for a absolute target on the trade, I would be looking maybe to close all somewhere. Probably around, oh gosh, this could go up 100 pips today. You get 100 pips out of it, then you know, maybe 100, 150 pips, and I would close the trade at that particular point. It looks pretty bullish at the minute, but I would, I'd certainly ride it now. It's gone through a nice level, so I'd ride it now and see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look weak. You have to say.
No, looking pretty good, isn't it, for the first hour? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
not
pretty
bad.
telling bar. You want to see a strong engulfing bar? There's one right there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now on my chart. I think which is everyone else is watching as well. So
Yes, yes.
good call, mate. Good call. That could go a ways, and hopefully that's the case. And when we come back after the week after Bali, if that's still going long, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, buddy. Well, safe journey if I don't speak to you before, and I will see you next week in Bali or this weekend in Bali.
This weekend, yes, absolutely.
Great. All right, buddy. Well, have a good
I'll be
week.
there. Thank you guys for understanding that we're going to have to take this time, and we'll be back with you after Bali. Have a great one. We'll catch you then. Cheers, mate.
Great stuff. See you later, buddy. Bye-bye.